I'm David Hepworth. Thanks for clicking this Word in Your Ear podcast, videocast thing for which there is no name. Mark Ellen and I have been creating in this line since 2007. And if any of it has met with your approval, then please click to subscribe because it helps. Leave a comment because we like to hear from you, and maybe even consider becoming a Patreon supporter because then, well, you'll be one of us. Visit patreon.com/wordinyourear for details.
This is Word Down Your Way, in which those about to tour salute you.
Well, welcome to this, and beaming in from San Francisco by the miracle of technology, Bob Mould. Bob, it's very nice to see you.
Greetings. How are things?
Good. Thanks for getting up good. Perilously early, your end. And how long have you lived in San Francisco then?
I moved out here in October of 2009, so I guess almost 16 years. And during those 16 years, I also did some time in Berlin, Germany, and a little bit of time in the Southern California desert, but San Francisco's home.
Does it still get the mist that I seem to remember it lasting? There's a mist every day till about 2 p.m. and then suddenly the sun breaks through. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the sunny side of Twin Peaks, so our fog burns off a little bit earlier, probably around noon, and then it comes back in around 3 p.m. And then all the tourist shops sell lots of San Francisco hoodies to people at 3 p.m.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, look, you've got a couple of tours, a solo tour and a band tour later on in the year. And we were going to take you back to the first gigs that you ever saw. Can you remember the first live performance you ever saw?
I can remember the first concert I had a ticket for. Unfortunately, I was drinking so much as a young man, I don't remember that much of the show. But so I grew up in the Adirondacks in northern New York State, and Montreal, Canada was about 50 miles north. And we had a group of us in high school managed to get organize like a bus and go up to see a concert. So the first the proper show that I saw was Rush opening for Aerosmith on the Rocks tour at the Montreal Forum.
Wow.
What were your memories of that? It's a noisy beginning, isn't it?
Yes.
Rush and Aerosmith.
Yes, it was. Well, I mean, Rush were great at that time. The Rocks tour, I think Aerosmith were having a little bit of trouble inside the band with stuff. So what I remember is I was having a lot of trouble with all the alcohol I had drank on the bus on the way up.
How old were you?
16 maybe.
Wow.
God,
So you just taken a few with you for the road, which is not a good idea.
Yes. Yeah, I think I remember getting ill in the parking lot of the Forum.
Oh God.
Oh,
I think I remember getting ill somewhere in the building in the Forum.
God, so
And then
is that something you associate with the sound of Rush to this day?
No, I don't let that. No, I don't hold them responsible for my stupid for my failings. But it was a great show. Sat up in the sort of in the nosebleed seats and smoked some marijuana and enjoyed Rush quite a bit. And then Aerosmith came on and people started throwing fireworks at them because they did not like the show that much. So sort of strange. But the next show that I saw was the real show. That was the one that did it. That was in a campus theater at the University of Quebec. Ramones Leave Home had just come out and they were opening for Iggy Pop.
All right.
Oh.
And that was the one I was like, right, this is probably it.
Uh-huh. So how did the Ramones strike you when they came on stage? Was there something faintly humorous about them as well as everything else?
Nope, not to me. Not at that time. I took the image that they portrayed dead serious. I got all of the sort of 60s, pop music references, but no, it was the delivery. of the, they just came on and it was stand and deliver. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
3 songs, quick break, 3 more songs, quick break. So, I mean, for anybody who comes to see me live, whether it's solo or with bands, that is where I picked up that habit.
But you must be, I'm trying to work out how old you would have been. Again, 15 or 16 at the time. So
Yeah.
you would have grown up listening to a completely different kind of music and the idea of a completely different kind of performance. Because I remember seeing the Ramones the first time thinking, I have never seen anything like that in my life. It's just
Yeah.
extraordinary.
Yeah, it was unbelievable because I mean, so at that time in the mid '70s, there was glam rock, there was the soft rock, there was hard rock, heavy metal, and for a band to just come on, looking as they did, playing so what looked simplistic on the surface, but was it was pretty revolutionary.
Yeah, yeah. So your 3-song thing, I don't. Tell
Mhm.
me a bit more about this. It's very important, isn't it? If that's the way to keep momentum, is it? Is that the idea?
Yeah. Yeah, I have, I always say to people, I like to pack a 2-hour show into 75 minutes.
Right.
Sort of doing away with a lot of the in between and the this and that. Especially in band shows. When I play solo, I have a little more. I'm more inclined to talk a little bit because I feel like I can tell my individual story to people, and especially, I guess, in this day and age, to try to share my history with people. It's nice. But I do love the economy of finding 3 songs that are simpatico with each other and just being able to push those out in a 10-minute pack. And then, right, let's grab a quick sip of water.
So you can kind of roll from song 1 to song 2 to song 3.
Yeah.
It's effectively like one long song in many ways.
Yeah, exactly. And I find sometimes I have to give the crowd a little bit of a verbal cue, like, that's the end of one.
Yes. Yes. We're now
So,
changing
Bored
tracks.
now.
well, it's just people they're like, where did that one end or is this the next one?
So
And I do
Dave,
like that. I love that blur. So,
so when did you first go on stage yourself with a guitar? And
well, in grade school, I did, sort of plastic chord organ band for, 5th grade talent show and was writing songs then. But I sort of call that. I would say, I mean, the first show that, with Grant Hart and Greg Norton and with a keyboard player named Charlie Pine, that was March 30th of 1979. So I sort of use that as my reference point for my first professional performance.
right.
And was this at college or where was that?
Yeah, so I had moved from the Adirondacks from northern New York State to Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, in the Midwest of the U.S. And this is fall of '78. So, that's where that's where I met Grant and Greg, and we started putting original music together. And then we had another friend who wanted to play keyboards, and we did 2 nights of shows at a place called Ron's Randolph Inn in St. Paul, Minnesota. Notably what we would call a 3-2 bar in Minnesota, where the alcohol content of the beer could be no greater than 3.2%.
I've never heard of
The
that.
weak beer bar.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah,
So it's virtually
week beer
soft
bar.
drinks.
Yeah, with no hard liquor or wine. So, and we did 2 nights of shows where we played covers, but at the end of the
What
second,
covers did you play? Can you remember?
stuff like Buzzcocks, Perubu, the Ventures, all kinds of stuff, 60s classics. But it was just, it was a way for our friend on keyboards to, stand up front and sing. And at the end of the second night, a friend of ours being me, Grant, and Greg, went up and pulled the cord out of the farfisa and sort of gave the "you're out" move. So the guy left the stage, and then Grant, Greg, and I played 6 originals that we had in our back pocket, and that was the Sort of a crazy beginning to a band, right?
That's a movie. It's a movie moment, that isn't it?
Well, let's talk. Yes, let's find somebody to make that movie.
Yeah.
I like the idea that you remember the exact date. Oh, you're a pretty organized person, are you?
I have my moments, yeah.
Right. I think I happened to be looking at a blog entry of yours
Oh
earlier
goodness.
where you said that it was a busy day and you knocked out a few instructional music videos. Is that right?
What? Where did this happen?
I thought I saw that on your site this morning.
Oh my gosh! On my old music blog from decades ago,
No,
or
I just happened to see this. Sorry, I've
oh,
obviously.
like on my socials. Wow. Well, I'm here to help. If
Right. No, I thought, yeah, I got an image of somebody who's very busy every day.
it comes and goes. I have sort of in my life, or I guess the life of a musician, we have what I try to call a cycle, where we write, then we record, then we wait, then the album comes out, then we tour, and that's a cycle. So, right now I sort of feel like I'm halfway through an album cycle, and this is some of the follow-up touring, and bringing the band to Europe for the first time this year. Yeah, I'm staying pretty busy. Talking to you guys,
So,
talking to other folks. It's good, yeah.
so tell us about this business. You're starting the tour with on your own, but then you're joined by the
Yep.
band later on. How's that work?
Well, my band, John Worster on drums, Jason Narducci on bass. Always grateful for the limited amount of time that I can get those guys together with me to do band touring. They have a lot of other projects of note. So because of that, I have a lot of time to do solo electric touring, which I enjoy as much as playing with the band. This year in November, I'll be coming over to start up solo dates in Spain, in France, Italy, and Greece, and then solo show in Glasgow, solo show in Leeds, and then the band will meet me in London. And we will do a London band show, then a couple shows in Germany, and a show in Belgium. The band goes home, and then I continue on to Scandinavia.
That
Solo.
proves how organized you are, Bob. You managed
You
to
pretty
tell
much
me all
remember
that. You
the
knew that
entire
without
itinerary.
looking at a piece of paper, which is
I'm
very
not lo-
rare.
and I'm not looking at anything either. It's just when I finish up with you guys, I have to start booking all the flights and hotels. So
Oh, right. You've
it's
got to
front
do
of
it. You do all that
Are
side
you
of
your
things.
own tour manager?
I am, yes.
God, how do you
See,
find that? Is that fun in any way, or
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm the one that has to do all the travel. I'd rather book it myself.
right? I suppose.
Yes.
Good grief.
Yeah.
So are you sitting there? You're sitting there with whole itineraries, and in front of you. Good grief.
Yep. Spreadsheets and receipts. Yep.
Is that quite common nowadays? Do you come across other
No.
musicians who do the same thing? Go on.
Hell no. And I think, sometimes I wonder, I'm just like, do you even understand what your business is about? I mean, because that's the thing. I mean, with, learned very early with Hüsker Dü, it's, sort of a lot of that DIY, doing everything yourself, booking tours, finding, places to stay, sleep, all of those kinds of things with logistics back in the 1980s. We all did that ourselves. And I guess I just sort of keep that, that kind of work ethic and, that MO it's just so familiar to me. So,
yeah. So tell us about your solo electric show. How does that work? Because that's quite unusual, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah. For anyone who's ever seen me with a three-piece, just imagine the other two people aren't there yet.
It's a budget version of the band show. That's right.
A little bit, yeah. It's the economical version of it for sure.
Occasionally, you look behind you and look puzzled and shrug and carry on. That's right. Yeah.
Usually, when people are clapping loudly, that's when I do that. But No, it's good, and it's it's pretty full tilt. And I know for the first few songs, people are a little disoriented because they're like, right, where is the beat exactly? So I try to use a lot of visual cues and vocal cues to sort of imply where things are. And
What do you
I
mean by
can
visual
use,
clues?
well, just sort of, jumping or bopping my head
Yeah.
or letting people know where the one is if they get a little lost. And it seems like after two or three songs, people get reoriented, and then it's like, oh, right, okay, I know what he's doing now. So it's sort of fun
Right.
to watch it from my end. I'm just doing what I do, and then I see it come into focus with people, and I'm like, okay, now we can carry on with the rest of the show.
But you say you do a certain amount of talking with those shows. There's a certain amount of autobiographical, right? Do you think that's really
Yeah,
important to do that, just for variety's sake?
well, I think in 2025, given the state of the world and all that I have seen professionally and personally and politically, it I feel like the most effective way at this point in my life to protest is just to share my story with people. It's like, here we are, you've come to listen to me sing and play. Here's my story. Here's how my prior experiences line up with where we are in the world today. And you're part of a community that is built around my life and my work and my stories. And especially in America, and especially in certain parts of America, for me to get up and tell that story, it puts a name and a face to what I feel like is a lot of oppression, directed at, others in America. So for me to have a moment to say, I'm one of those others, and you're here and you like what I do. So, if you really want to go in that direction with politics and what you want in your life, just understand how it affects me. Um, 40 years ago, I would have been much louder and much more vehement and much more animated at all times with protest. But, some of that, that's sort of counting on the youngs to get out there and do a lot of that. And I get my tiny little soapbox and I get to tell stories. So during the solo shows, it's really, I feel like it's important to
Right,
share with people.
right.
Do
How
you worry about having a political element to what you talk about? I mean, is that something you feel
No,
is just a risk? You don't.
nope, I've earned that. And people who don't like it, it was nice knowing you.
Absolutely.
So how long are your solo shows? Are they the same length as the band shows? Did it work out?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, about an hour and a half on a good night, the 80, 90 minutes, sometimes a little longer. But again, it's action packed. There's a lot of music and, a little, there's that little stretch of longer talking in the middle that's maybe 5 minutes to give everybody a break and
Yeah.
sort of reset. And, that's the way that I get to the next part of the show. But yeah, it's it's fairly loud, fairly forward, fairly animated. People sing along. It's pretty great, good
Right.
times.
Do you find it personally tiring?
Yes.
Go on.
Yep.
You come off and lie down. What's your routine after a show and so forth?
Well, it's everything goes to the show. I'm not a big talker during the day. I'm not a big socializer during the day. It's really at this point in my life, it's all about the 2 hours of work, conserving all of my energy, get through the show, get my stuff packed up, try to dry off, try to get out to the front, say goodbye to people if I can. And that 2+ hours and all the associated travel and things around it, that's a typical day. It's a lot of work, but I
But
do enjoy it.
But the key difference here is that most people are doing that 2 hours on stage, and then they're kind of, someone else is kind of looking after them and running the tour for
Yeah.
them, and then you're
Yeah.
doing all that as well, which seems absolutely
Yeah.
incredible. So you're probably coming off, you're probably talking to people, you're probably there selling merchandise or whatever, and doing all the stuff that you have to do in the
Yeah.
economy of today's touring, and then yeah, you're on the phone trying to rebook a flight because it's been cancelled. I mean, it's astonishing.
Oh, those are the fun days.
Those are the good days.
But that's okay. That's okay. I've got travel agent magic, so I'm usually pretty good.
So what's been the thing that's changed most in touring? Do you think in the last 40 years? I mean, obviously it's a very different world, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, I grew up again in the idea where, if we Hüsker Dü, for instance, could find a veterans hall that we could rent for $50, so that when the meat puppets come to town, we can rent a PA for $100 and pay them $300, and we have this room and we do this thing. And then, bands will get more successful, and they sort of, Husker Du sort of moved more into the theaters and bigger promoters and all that, and commercial radio. So I mean, and I've gone out and I've done touring, with Sugar, for instance, where it's, much bigger scale in the 90s. I've, sort of seen the different tiers of touring that are available to artists. I think it's terribly competitive right now. The main reason being, if you are a recording artist and you get a following and you're able to sell tickets, that's the way you make a living these days. So, the road is filled with touring musicians, and ticket prices have gotten very high. Service charges have gotten very high. We've been asking, the music community have been asking a lot of our audience, especially over the last 4 years. It's really, really competitive right now. There's a lot of choices for
Yeah.
consumers, and we've got to be careful with this. You don't want to go in and ask too much of a promoter, and hurt the venues, because then we start losing venues. It's a
It's
delicate thing,
difficult.
Very
Yeah,
fine line.
you're not the only person who said this to us, that we've been talking to
Yeah.
about touring. That you go back too often, or you're
Oh
not
yeah.
not a rarity anymore. Do you when you're working out when to tour? Do you look around at when other people are touring, who presumably appeal to a similar audience?
Well, I think first, since I guess because I'm a old legacy artist, I've had a long career, and my audience has grown with me. I think sometimes with people who have really busy lives, you've got to think pretty long term about how you're going to reach people. And because it's every communication is so level now. And finding out when a tour is or when a new record is, it's hard to reach people who have busy lives and families. So a lot of planning goes in. For me, spring and fall are usually the best. Summer is typically consumed by festivals,
Yeah.
which unless you're a festival artist, summer can be a little tricky. But it feels like, for me, March, April, May, September, October, November are usually the best times to tour. If I put out a record in the spring, I tour in the spring, follow up with more touring in the fall, and that's what this year looks like.
But you don't regard yourself as a festival act.
Well, I mean, usually the promoters and the audience make that decision.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's if a record is coming and a song is hot and I feel the heat, then maybe there's some festivals. If I put
Right.
out a record and it's just it's a great album, and the faithful are coming, it's regular touring. I
But
can make the biggest.
with Sugar, you played some I think you played some quite big festivals, didn't you? And
Yeah.
what
Really big
size?
stuff.
What's the biggest crowd you think you played to?
Well, I mean, personally, the biggest crowds I ever played to was when I was doing, some of the DJing and some of the sort of walk-on stuff with the Foo Fighters in 2011. those were
All
that,
right.
that was sort of ridiculous, to do walk out to 20,000 people for a run of shows to play a couple songs with them, or Milton Keynes, which is ridiculously large.
Yeah.
With Sugar, some of the continental festivals would be up around 100,000, which is that's a challenge. That's it's a great challenge, and for me it would be, all right, I need to find the last row first and then try to come forward with all of it. So it's
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
what? I mean, you've played loads of different kinds of shows. You've been playing live for a long time. What's the what ambition have you got as a live performer? What's the kind of show that you fantasize about doing, if only it could be afforded or whatever, or the practicalities could be overcome? Is there anything you think about in those terms?
well, I mean, with the exception of some touring in 2002, it's pretty much a stand and deliver. It's either solo or with three or four piece. Just minimal lighting, lots of PA, maybe a backdrop. I mean that setting is really comfortable for me. I think my crowd is pretty, they like it pretty basic and pretty raw, and they like to be as close as they can get, and I appreciate all of that. In 2002, I put out some electronica based music, and I put together a whole audio visual show, with big screens and synchronized to track. And so I mean I've tried that, sort of on a independent scale, and it was really fun to do. But I think the more production that people add to shows, the more they get locked into backing tracks, and everything has to be the same every night. And then I think some of the spontaneity gets lost, and it
Yeah.
becomes maybe more like a Broadway show where you have to hit your marks. And that's a different kind of beast that maybe wouldn't be for me. So,
Okay.
it must be
so
hard
yeah,
though, because you suddenly get the feeling that you want to play a different song, or somebody in the audience requests a different song, and you can't make those adjustments because there's so much technology locked into a plan. Is that right?
yeah, I think so. And I mean, even, on a more simplistic comparison would be when I'm playing with John and Jason and we write a set list. And because John, the drummer, is using in-ears with protection, we can't really communicate on the
Right.
fly. So we generally have to stay pretty close to the set list. I mean, we've got some, sort of like inside baseball hand signals that we can do to, jump ahead, go back, I need to tune, whatever, something's falling apart, but so there's that. And then there's, these solo electric shows where I've got a roadmap, but it can be pretty freewheeling. I could be in the middle of a song and say, okay, I'm out of this song and I'm just going to the next one.
Yeah.
Is
On
that
your,
preferable? Playing, 'cause it sounds to me as though that might be preferable. Playing to smaller audiences where you have more control than playing to huge audiences who are trying to convert a lot of the time.
Yeah. I think those more intimate shows, the solo shows, are really fun for that, because it is that, it's that real personal energy that I'm getting from people. And it's also, if there's a heckler or somebody who's creating a problem, it's a lot. I sort of look forward to that, because I like that.
oh,
Do you
don't
get
don't
hecklers?
say that. You'll be tempting fate. Sure.
Well, I think they will be tempting fate.
All right.
Oh, right.
But I hear what you're saying.
Come
But I hear
on
what you're
down,
saying.
says Bob Mould.
Well,
Do you get hecklers a lot then?
No. I mean, people. I have a wonderful crowd. I have had moments, and I am pretty good at handling those moments. But here's a good
Can you give
example.
us an
So,
example of those moments? I love this.
yes,
Go
yeah.
on.
So it was the fall of 21.
Yeah.
So this is just as live music is coming back in America, and people are very concerned. So, ahead of the tour, I'm leaning in very heavily about, we need to keep our, faces covered.
Masks on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
masks on. So I was at a wedding a couple of weekends ago in Portland, Oregon, and I met somebody who was at the Los Angeles show, the Bob Mould band show in Los Angeles on that tour. And the person said, "You had this amazing line about that you used on somebody." And I said, "Oh, yeah, I remember that one." I said, "So we finished 3 songs, and I looked out, and there's some sort of hip dude in the crowd, and he had a very stylish hipster mustache, right?" Which I appreciated. So I just stopped and said, "Dude, love the mustache. Cover it up." I mean, it was like so simple, right? It wasn't like, "Hey, you, anxiety." It was just sort of like, "Love the stash, gotta cover it." And the guy
Did
was
he?
like, "Oops." Yeah.
Oh, he did.
Oh, well, that's
He was
good.
the only person. He was the only person in close to 1,000 people who didn't have a mask on. So I was like, "Come on, dude,
Right. God, a
look
thousand
look
people.
around."
So you're looking at 1,000 people all with masks on. Wow.
Yep.
So how did that feel? I mean, again,
God, that
you
was-
feel you're playing to. There's a kind of loss of personality there, isn't there? When you can't see
Well,
somebody's facial expression, hard to tell if they're enjoying it.
I mean, you can see it in their eyes, but the biggest thing is you don't hear it because the mask is sort of a
Yeah.
buffer for volume. So it was sort of like instead of the mosh pit, it was more like the golf clap, and it was like,
Yes.
you know. But you have after a couple shows, you just have to imagine it. It's like, okay, I get it now. Where
Yeah.
things are
It's a little bit
things are
muffled.
muted. Yeah, a
Yeah.
little muted for the moment, but we got through it, and
Yeah.
so all good now.
I have to say, you were mentioning the early days, the meat puppets and all that. It's so nice to see all the affection that there's been for Hüsker Dü and Sugar, but particularly Hüsker Dü from groups like the Foo Fighters and Pixies. I mean, that must be very a wonderful feeling to have had that reaction.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, again, as the kid who saw the Ramones and went, okay, this is not like Kiss. This is not like Aerosmith. There are no private jets. There is likely no cocaine. There are no groupies. This is just people in a van working hard. Um, so that and the Buzzcocks and my love of 60s pop, all of that got me into it. And I took all of that and spun it into this weird sound that became an influence to people like the Pixies and Foo Fighters and Green Day and My Bloody Valentine. And yeah, I mean, that's what this is. I heard the stories of my predecessors and, sort of wrap those stories up in a new way, and other people carry on. And it's sort of like a game of hot potato. No, here, you take the sound now. You take the sound.
That's
No, I'll
good.
catch it. Oh, I'll catch it. Yeah, I can do this again one more. So, okay. It's fun.
That's true. That's true. Well, look, it's been lovely to talk to you. Tell us once again when you come into the UK, because you know it off the top of your head.
Oh my gosh, I don't know this off the top of my head. I just
Yeah,
switched
from the
to the
top to the
calendar.
bottom.
Well, Bob Mould Solo Electric, Tuesday, November 18 in Glasgow at Oran Moore.
All right.
Wednesday, the November 19th, one of my favorite rooms, Brudenell Social Club in Leeds. And Thursday, November 20th, is the Bob Mould Band in London at a venue I have not played before, the Dome, which I hear is a wonderfully tight, sweaty room. So I look forward to that.